Good evening, Reds. How are we? Welcome to Tuesday's edition to your LFC transfer room. I'm your host, and I'm joined today by a very, very good friendship, good people. I'm really, really happy to see these guys, especially Dan, because he's the how can we say it? He's a stalwart. He's like the Jamie Carragher of the LFC transfer room. He's always there, always dependable. How are we, Dan?
Doing good, though. When I go back to work, I won't be here anymore, so you're going to have to find someone to replace me, sadly.
Oh, no. Well, can we get an extension on this, on the loan?
No extensions until I'm off work for a while. I might hop on a late night shoot if we have one,
Good.
but no extensions.
As long as you got to be part of the group. That's the main thing. And Harmony, how are we, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. Thank you. Not too bad.
Good. And Jay, long time no see, mate. We haven't had the pleasure of your company on a Tuesday. How are we?
All good, mate. Nice to be back on a Tuesday and with you again, eh?
Yeah, I know. The bromance never dies, yeah? Okay, so first of all, we're just going to get through some normal things. I'd just like to say thank you for everyone joining the stream tonight. Like, subscribe, do whatever you can to kind of help us out. Post your questions, because we're going to try to get through as many questions as we can while we go through the number of topics that we have. But yeah, it's really, really interesting, some of the things that we're going to be talking about. And we'll kick off. And the first thing we'll say is we've had some pictures of training today. It's been interesting considering the weekend and a couple of the injuries that we were quite worried about. Trent being one of them, coming off with a fairly bad ankle injury. We thought the worst as normal, as being as Liverpool fans. And then we have Luis Diaz, who came off, and we thought there could be a bit of an issue, something that's going to a bit of a muscle strain around the hamstring or groin area, because that's what it was holding at the time when he came off. So we've had some pictures, and both of those players, thankfully, have turned up. They're on a Tuesday, training, looking happy. Harmony, I'll start with yourself. How important is seeing those two players be turning up to training so soon after what could appear to be a bit of a lengthy layoff for both?
No, it's really good news. We need those two players to be firing this season, especially with the fixtures that we have coming up. I think this is probably one of the hardest fixtures we had when it comes to opening, like the opening couple of weeks. I think this is one of the hardest fixtures that we've had. We've got Newcastle and Aston Villa, Wolves, West Ham, and then Tottenham. So these are going to be really tough games and vital games that we at least get 3 points out of most of those games, and just really start off the season in the right foot, So having someone like a Trent and a Diaz in there, that is firing. That is right now he's in great form, and you just want that momentum to keep going, because we will need him to score goals this season, because he needs to be more involved in the goals. And obviously Trent, he's such a vital piece in the team as well. So yeah, it's just good news that the knocks are not they're nothing serious. They're just impact pains, injuries, and so yeah, that's a good thing for the team right now, especially for those games that are coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way that Luis Diaz has started this season, 2-2, some fantastic, the 2 goals that he has scored have been absolutely phenomenal. That goal that he scored against on the weekend just epitomizes how good of a player that he is. Jay, how important is it, I guess, having seen Trent turn up as well, your vice captain, the defense has had its issues. So again, kind of solidifying what we're trying to do. Well, what are your thoughts on this, mate?
It's like Harmony said, mate. Newcastle away is one of the tougher games of the season now. So obviously you want your best 11 available. So seeing both of them out there is important, mate, especially for Diaz, I think, just because he's got 2-2 and he needs that bit of momentum, because he hasn't had that, obviously, with the injury last season. So yeah, it's bossed about in training, and like Harmony said, it's important. You've got your best players fit for our away game, so good to see them both in training.
Absolutely. I mean, I'll change tact for yourself there, Dan. I know we all expect, obviously, it's great news that we got the 2 players turning up for training, but there were 4 players that weren't pictured today. So we had Thiago, Konate, Bajcetic, and McAllister. Is there anything that we need to kind of be concerned about, considering those 4 players?
I mean, I don't think so. I mean, the last time we didn't have like a lot of players, it was usually for media duties. And I mean, I'm not sure about Konate in many ways. He could be on media, he could be on just receiving treatment after the game as well. Let me try to think who else. You said it was Thiago. So we know Thiago, so he's rehabilitating from his injury, so I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't involved because they're still easing back in, but he has been in routine training. And who were the other 2? You said Bajcetic and
Konate and McAllister being.
McAllister.
Yeah.
So McAllister, I'm not surprised because they didn't know if he'd be suspended or not. So I imagine they may have even had him in those meetings with talking about like if he would be suspended or not as well. I mean, I don't think it's too early to get worried because it's Tuesday. I'd be more worried if this was like Wednesday or Thursday's training session because we know that the way Liverpool like to do things is that Monday's recovery and they do tactics. Tuesday's the first training session of the week. And usually if you're not in by Wednesday or Thursday, that's when we see if you're going to be involved with the team or not as well. I do think we're all kind of getting anxious and waiting for the bottom to fall out of the season just because of like when we had injuries last year as well and just watching Trent and Diaz, because both during the game, it was a very intense game going down to 10 men when we did. And the fact that, 2 of our best players so far, even though I think Trent hasn't been that great so far, both get injuries, you're automatically going to be worried. I wouldn't worry too much yet. In many ways, I'd be more worried if we were coming Thursday and Friday and we heard some other news, but I'm not worried as at this moment.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that Klopp said that Thiago is pretty close. I can't remember him saying anything about Bajcetic just yet. I don't know.
Yeah.
Harmony, have you heard anything about that?
Not about Bajcetic. He was at the game on was it Sunday, I believe.
He was on the bench.
He was on the bench, so I believe he is getting closer and closer to actually playing. I think if we went down to 10 men and we were still 11 men up, and we still had that 3-goal lead, I believe we could have seen him on the pitch. He would have came on for a couple of minutes, but because obviously the game was so intense, we were down to 10 men, and I think Klopp just didn't want to risk, bringing the kid in at that particular moment. So, yeah. So I think, we have nothing to worry about when it comes to him. Especially, I just want to add on the Luis Diaz thing. I feel like he's starting to improve. If we really start to see the way he's moving now, before he was so predictable in terms of how he was moving, it was just so simple. He's just going to try cut in and shoot, but now he's starting to implement different things in his game as well. So that's another reason why I'm just so happy to, see him. I'm happy that he's not really injured and he's still in the team. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really, really important for people to remember. The time that he spent out last season. With such a bad knee injury that took him out. I'm pretty sure he came back and then he felt something straight away in training when he joined. So I don't know. How long do you think it would take a player like that to try to get over the injury and then have the confidence? I guess, Jay, what are your thoughts about how crucial is a summer for a player like Luis Diaz?
Massive, mate, but obviously you remember the impact he had when he came in January. He was arguably that season, he was arguably the best player at the back end of that season. But we've got to remember about that injury is he came back into a side that was poor, really, really poor. So you've just been out for, what was it, 6 months, 7 months, something like that.
Yeah.
Proper long injury. You're coming back into a struggling side anyway. You're probably not going to look great. So getting that full pre-season and he looked sharp in pre-season. He's looked sharp in the first 2 games. Yeah, boss, mate, that's exactly what you want, having a full pre-season under him. And this season you should see the proper Diaz, hopefully.
Yeah,
I think the one player everyone's always nervous about getting injured is Konate, because I feel like
Man,
I don't know why people don't rate Joe Gomez, but apparently we act like Joe Gomez and Joel Matip are like, having the reincarnation of Martin Skirtle in the back line as well. But I think that's the one we're always worried about because the way we play this season, and I think right now in terms of our center backs, obviously Van Dijk is always on the level, but Konate is the next best center back, I think, right now, and he's probably one of the top 4 or 5 in the league. I think he's better than Arsenal center backs outside of Saliba. I think he's better than all of Man City's center backs, even though they just got Guardiola. I think that's our biggest worry right now is that we're always going to be paranoid over the fact that can Konate stay injury free, especially now since we just loaned out Juro Kwanzaa, and we've been linked with center backs, but there's been no movement, and we didn't get Levi Colwell, so there's very much this anxiety that we're going to end up in a situation where we have no center backs again or no midfielders again. But I think our biggest worry right now is Konate staying injury free rather than Diaz or even Trent.
Yeah, and I think that's the important thing, isn't it? For me, the drop off from Virgil and Konate to Gomez and Matip is too wide. It's such a big drop off in terms of quality, in terms of just the reliance on the players, the injuries that both of them seem to get. I know Konate gets his injuries, but he kind of backs it up with his ability, doesn't he? We can't doubt how good of a player Konate is when fully fit. I don't know if it's going to be an interesting one. Hopefully, it's not a major injury, something that we can manage. And let's see over the next couple of days. Just like you said there, Dan, didn't you? If we get to Thursday, Friday, Wednesday, Thursday, should I say, and we're not seeing him training, then there may be something of concern. And who knows what could happen, whether it could be the redemption for Gomez.
Well, I mean, I feel like we act like Joe Gomez has just been like living under a rock the past couple of years and hasn't done anything. I mean, yes, he had some very high-profile bad games last year, especially against Napoli, which Napoli won Serie A and was one of the best teams in Europe, and then ran out of gas by March. So I get why people don't always rate Gomez in many ways. Like I understand all the criticisms for him, but if Gomez is your third best center back, like that's a really good defensive back three. Like. If you look, again, I hate to bring up all the teams. Like, if you look at Newcastle's backups, it's Jamal Lascelles, and they don't rate him. If you look at Arsenal's backup center backs, yes, Gabriel's on the bench, but I don't think Gabriel's that much better than Joe Gomez. Matip's probably the one we're always worried about because he's older. And the thing about center backs is that when they turn bad. Like, if you look at any center back throughout history, the instant they hit that cliff and start going downhill, they go downhill much faster. Because when you're on a playing center back, especially a high line, you turn much slower, you're passing slower, you just can't react like Rio Ferdinand, to bring up one of the more recent high-profile ones. But that's the thing about center backs that we worry about as well, which is why I think we're still linked with defenders, even though no defender has been brought in yet.
Yeah, good points. So just everyone in the chat, please just drop what you think as well about the Gomez and Matip kind of conundrum. If we do lose Konate for the weekend, hopefully not. Do you feel confident going into the Newcastle game with those two guys possibly as backup, partnering our main man Virgil, the captain? Before we do move on to the next topic, please like, subscribe. I can see 228 people in the chat watching the stream tonight. Good numbers, considering it's a Tuesday. So please like and subscribe. So the next topic that we're going to go into is, now I don't want to put it down on anything, but Neil Jones has come out and spoken about Wataru Endo might be in the building, but Liverpool's summer transfer business is surely not done. With 10 days until the window closes, the Reds remain in the market for further additions. So it's always going to be an interesting topic, and that's what we're here for, and talk about it. So people in the chat, please just drop in who do you expect us to try to go for? Any dream buys, people like that. What areas do we need to still kind of concentrate? Is it the number 6 centre back? Should we be looking at? Someone just mentioned talking about right back. So it's an interesting one talking about right backs there. But Harmony, I'll start off with yourself. Do you think we're still in the market for players? If so, who, what positions? Do you think it can be done with 10 days to go?
I don't think it's a downer. It's actually a good thing. When you said it was a downer, I was thinking, oh God, what bad news are we getting now? I know it's a good thing. It's a good thing that we're still in the market. Yeah, it's a really good thing that we're still in the market because we need to strengthen that centre back position. Because obviously I get what Dan is saying. Joe Gomez is not a washed up player, but I think another problem with Joe Gomez is that his injury record is not great as well. So you can't really rely on him too much to really back up Virg because his injury record is not great. If you look at Konate's injury record and his injury record, I think they're quite similar. in terms of their injury records are really, really bad. So that's another reason why I feel like a lot of people don't really want to have Joe Gomez there. So for me, I think we definitely need another centre back, and I feel like we need another midfielder. Only because I feel like we do have Endo there, but I don't feel like he's a long-term solution for that particular position. I feel like we need to get someone younger to come in that position that we can be like, okay, cool, this is the guy that we have for the next 5 or 6 years that's going to be cemented as, yes, this is the DM that we're going to have. So those are the two areas I believe we need to strengthen. And if we wasn't still in the market, then that would be worrying, because you can clearly see there's so many gaps in the team in that midfield and in that defense that needs to be sorted out. Because if you see the way Robertson's playing, the last game against Chelsea wasn't great. Against Bournemouth, he was much better. But you can clearly see that he's not comfortable in that position. He's a left back. He's not a centre back. So we need to get someone in that position to cover that left side of the defense. And in the midfield as well, like I said, Endo, we don't know what he's going to bring into the team because I really haven't seen him play. This is going to be his first week training with the team, and obviously we're going to see how he gets on against Newcastle. But I still believe that we need another midfielder in there that's going to be cemented as, yes, this is the guy that we're going to rely on for the next 5 to 6 years in that position, kind of like Fabinho, So yeah, so I'm really glad that we're still in the market and looking for people to bring in.
Yeah, no, it is interesting. What are your thoughts today, Jay, on that? Still in the market? Obviously, yeah, it is great news that we're still doing it. It's just the timing is not probably the best with 10 days just to go. How much of an impact can any player come in and make? What areas do you think we still need to kind of consider? Have we got the money?
Still a massive impact, mate, because we still don't have a 6 except Enzo. So if you get a proper 6, they're going to have a huge impact on the side. It's what we're lacking. The first 10 minutes against Bournemouth was shambles at the back. And it's for the need for a proper 6, mate. Like, we're dying for one. Completely agree with Harmony as well. Robbo can't play left centre half. And the way we're playing at the minute, he's essentially playing that role. And he can't do it. He really, really can't. So had that been a different side we played Saturday, I know obviously we dominated the game after that, but if that's against the better side and they get that goal at the beginning, the one that's disallowed, and then the next one, you're 2-0 down 10 minutes in. And sometimes you don't recover from that. So I think we were fortunate that was Bournemouth the weekend and not a better side. Like Arsenal, City, whoever else, the usual suspects that you class as being the top side. So completely agree with Harmony, mate. We need a left-sided centre-half, but we really need a 6 still as well. I'm sure Enzo will do the job, but we need one who's starting week in, week out, who's top class and ready now.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was interesting watching the game. The first 10 minutes were, absolutely, agree. It's an absolute shambles. The way that we conceded that goal, the ball being picked off Trent. I think it was interesting that Trent's position went from that central number 6 into that more traditional right back position, and we kind of reverted back to norm. And
it was a poor pass to him, by the way. It was a bad pass. I didn't think he should have given it, but
yeah, I mean the problem is if you were a defensive midfield, the ball, his ball, that player's ball, the next pass would have been to the right back because of the available kind of area. But if you got your right back playing in the centre, and so there's no option there unless Konate's available. It's what I was speaking about last week about how you get your defensive midfielder to be that third centre back, and with the way that we're trying to play, I don't think it actually quite kind of works right now. So
which is why Endo coming in is such a big deal, because you can push McAllister up, you can have Szoboszlai kind of cover that right back, right wing, right midfield space that you would have that option. And the fact that McAllister's card is now returned, we can now see a midfield where you actually have a defensive midfielder in Endo with McAllister and Szoboszlai further ahead of him, and Trent occasionally tucking in to help build the play as well. Because I know I've said this so many times, and I get what Jay said, and a lot of people, we've had these discussions in our group chat, getting a proper 6. Right now, what the team needs is just water carriers, people that, some like Wataru's job, and I think it was funny because Klopp said this when he got there, is like, win the ball, win the tackle, pass it to McAllister and someone line, let them go do their thing. And that's really all you need at the moment. And, I agree with Harmony, and I think Jay said this, and Charlie, I'm pretty sure you have the same sentiment, that ideally we would get our 6 in, who is going to be our 6 for the next 5 to 6 years. I completely agree. I just think right now that the player they want, or that ideally they would want to fill that position, that they're not available for whatever reason. So they're looking to solve all the problems now. And I think that's actually a very smart move. Like for me, Indo's a buy we would normally never make, a short-term solution. Our buys were always long-term or nothing. I think this is actually a smart buy in the sense that you get a low-risk, high-reward player and who can just do this very basic fundamental thing you want them to do. And that allows us to go get a defender or get another midfielder and then get our future 6 whenever we want to. If that's Andre or, which I don't think he's a 6, but, that's another discussion, that we can get them in January or next summer, and they can get that deal over the line to come in behind Indo.
Yeah, I think everyone probably I hope everyone agrees. I was quite impressed with Endo when he came on.
Oh, yeah.
There was some good tackles. He moved the ball well. He jumped up for headers where he needed to. He read the game pretty well. So I have no concerns over his ability. It's just the longevity. Would he be able to kind of last a whole grueling season within the Premier League? And I think that's the thing, isn't it? I don't know if anyone else thinks that.
No, it's true. What you said there is very true. It's going to be a grueling season because Europa League, you're going to be playing every Thursday, and then those Thursday trips, you don't know what country you're going to go to. You're going to go into some next league that you've never heard of, some next team that you've never heard of, and then you have to make your way back to England again, and then get ready for the game on Sunday. It's not going to be an easy season. That's why we need another DM in there, just to kind of take the strain away from the Endos, taking a strain away from the McAllisters, the Slobosai, the Salahs. We need players. I think that's why Doucoure is still in the team right now, because I feel like he's going to be used a lot in that particular position to kind of give Salah a bit more rest during the season. But for me, I feel like I hear what Dan is saying is, Endo is there as a stock player, even though Klopp is not saying that, but I feel like he is a stock player for now until we get the actual DM that we want. But for me, the problem is that we've seen this kind of event happen before. We've gone through, we're waiting next season to get the player that we want, and then next season comes, we still can't get the player, or the owners cough up the money, and then we'll go back to the same situation again and again and again. And that's something I'm trying to avoid. I don't want to go into next summer having to worry about, we still need to bring the DM, or we still need to bring in a centre back. I wanted to go into next summer saying, how can we strengthen now? What area can we strengthen? Not what area can we need to fill in. What area can we strengthen for us to, go into pre-season with the whole squad? Klopp has every single player, and he can just focus on pre-season and not have to worry about too much in the market. If you need to go in the market to get one player, then that's fair enough. But this is the team that I have for the season, and that's it. And that's what I really want. But but the only problem is now is that we knew that this window was going to be vital for us, but we treated it like it's a joke. How is it? We're still in the market, but in 10 days to sort out what you need to sort out, that should have been sorted literally in the beginning. So that's my only fear when it comes to this, particular process of waiting or not having the right players there, to fill in that DM role. For me, I've sent it Florentino Luis in Benfica. He's just the best option that we can buy, and I don't see anybody else out there that's really better than him. He's above a level of our Caicedo. He's above levels of these players. He's close to being that prime Fabinho, to that prime Fabinho phase where he was literally just unstoppable. He's close to that. I don't know why we're not looking at him, but that is someone that I was just looking at for the whole summer thinking that's the target that we need, because he can solve a lot of our problems. So that's why.
So Harmon, I was reading something from Benfica. So the reason it's not that we're not looking at him, we are. I just think that Benfica is just not going to sell him below. I think these clauses right now like 108 million euros, and I think Liverpool just don't want to do that because they want to go sign whoever they feel like they need to sign right now as well. And I think there's also that issue with like the homegrown thing. They only have one more spot, and if they sign Florentino Luis, they can't sign a defender and register unless they deregister Adrian. And I take your point. I wish Klopp had the best team every summer going in that, because the one time we had that was 1920, which was the summer that everyone's mad about because we only signed Harvey Elliott, Adrian, and Sepp Vandenberg. But that was the team where like, this is my set 22 players, and we're going to go into the season and do that, and we won the league that year. So I do agree with you, Harmony, and I would very much I say Hendo's a stopgap. Obviously, he's going to play a lot of games for us, and I think he's going to do very well. And I think he's obviously more dynamic than just a destroyer. He's obviously has good passing on him. But I think right now Klopp's looking at it like, what can I do to make this team better for the next 4 to 5 months? And I think that's the best mindset you can have at the moment, because yes, ideally we would have had all of our business done, but I think losing Fabinho and Henderson just slowed us down a lot. Obviously, the Caicedo and Lavia sagas for those 2 weeks didn't help as well. So I think right now they're just like, all right, we made decisions, we got screwed, we need to just see what we can do and get the best available to us. And then, in January and then, next summer, they'll have to say like, okay, how do we evolve this team beyond? Because next summer we're losing Thiago, we're probably going to lose Matip, we're probably going to lose Simicast. There's a potential we lose Salah, though I think that's less likely now than we may think. So there's obviously always going to be more work to do. I think right now, if they're smart, for the most part they are, though they do make mistakes. They can still like come out of the summer window with like some solid players and allow us to get the next generation like a Florentino Luis as well.
Yeah, no, it's really good points. So I just want to read out a couple of points and from the comments. I did bring them up. Jay, what are your thoughts about? It may be too late to try to bring someone in. We would hope we can try to get that number 6 that we're trying to look for. But what about the options that we have? So we've got Basetic, Thiago, and then Endo as well. Should we still kind of look towards Basetic being that long-term number 6 that we're trying to adapt?
Long term, yeah, but he's not physical enough for that role yet. He's still a baby boy. He's got a lot of growing to do. You've seen Trent when he first joined. Look at him now. Look at Curtis Jones. They've proper filled out. They're filling into the bodies now because they're men. Basetic is a kid, legitimately a kid. He's a teenager. The other thing is, they can all play 6, but there's different profiles of 6. So you've got like a Pearl over Verratti type 6, or you've got a destroyer who's like a Caicedo or even a Kante. I know he's little, but that's his role. He wins the ball, he gives it to the players who do the magic. That's the type of 6 we need. Basetic is a footballing 6. Thiago is a footballing 6. They control tempo, dictate play. That's not the 6 we need. We need a destroyer. That's what Enzo's been brought in for. But he's the only profile of player we have like that to run a full season. That's not enough. If he picks up an injury as well, where's your other profile of player that's a destroyer? There isn't one. You can't rely on a 19. How old's Basetic? 18? He's still 18, isn't he?
I think he's 19. I think he might be.
So we're relying on him as a 6 for the full season. Because we want to be charging for titles and stuff as we usually are. If we brought in a proper 6, like a Caicedo, I know that isn't happening. I don't care about that, but I just mean a proper 6, like Harmony said, Florentino Luis, someone like that. That's all you challenge. You can't rely on a kid, and you can't rely on Thiago because he plays 15, 20 games a season. Enzo's an unknown quantity. So, no, we 100% still need a destroyer as a 6. We have players who can play there, but that's not their position. You don't want people who can play. You want people who do play.
Yeah. I mean, well, sorry, I wanted to bring this up. Sorry, not that point. It was another point that was called up. Doucoure. Now, there was something there. I didn't want to block what you were saying there, Jay, because you're just covering yourself. But yeah, Doucoure may be the best option out there, but there's a little bit of stubbornness as to the valuation for the player. He played last night. He did okay. He is playing against Arsenal. I think there's still a bit of time to work on that deal. Would he be the right fit? Who knows? But we'll move on to the next topic, and we are going to be talking about another defensive-minded midfielder. And so David Lynch has come out today and saying that Manu Kone, taking us back a few months. So Manu Kone is being watched closely by Liverpool scouts this summer, and a move in the final days of the window has not been ruled out. So, Dan, any thoughts? I guess it's really, really interesting that Kone has now come back into training. He's running. Will he play again before the window closes up? Giving us the confidence to try to put in a bid. Is he worth the money? Considering how much we've been quoted against for Doucoure, half the price. It looks like could be a good buy.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I like Manu Kone a lot. I actually think his profile is very similar to Endo more than anything else, and also similar to Doucoure. He's very much a very defensive-y midfielder, and I guess like Jay said, like very much that destroyer number 6, a N'Golo Kante type or a Moises Caicedo type in many ways. That's really what he's done for Borussia Mönchengladbach. For me, it comes down to really 2 problems. If they wanted Kone, they probably would have signed him much ahead. I know he got injured at the U21, so they definitely signed a deal. But if they wanted him, they could have signaled this much earlier or agreed to deal with Gladbach before then. The sporting director at Gladbach is Jörg Schmacker's son, so it's not like they don't know each other. So they do have his number as well. It is a deal I could see being done. We just, 1, don't know the extent of the injury. He is back in training, but we don't know how long it's going to take for him to actually start a game. 2, he does take up a non-homegrown spot, so you wouldn't be able to buy another non-homegrown player. And we mentioned we need a defender. And someone mentioned the injuries. Yes, he has had 2 bad injuries, though both are not his fault. They're impact injuries. These are not like muscle injuries or ACL, so he's just rupturing by standing around or just from too much game time as well. I think if you're buying a destroyer and you want a young destroyer that's going to come in and rotate with Endo, and you don't want to throw Bajcetic in, yes, he makes a lot of sense. But then again, you're committing to the fact that you're going to have a defensive mid of Manu Kone, Wataru Endo, and Stefan Bajcetic for the next 2 to 3 years, essentially Klopp's last 2 or 3 years at Liverpool. I don't think he leaves Gladbach because I think Gladbach are just going to ask too much. Palace wants 70 million for Cheick Doucoure. I wouldn't touch that with a 50-foot pole. I like Cheick Doucoure. Don't pay 70 million for Cheick Doucoure, especially when you decide on the players. Manu Kone is probably not going to leave Gladbach for less than 45 million pounds, so about 50 million euros, I would expect, because they still need a defensive mid to replace him. Even though he has been injured, they're going to need a sense one to replace him. And German clubs do not like to sell this close to the window. The last time it happened was Jadon Sancho to Manchester United. And I think we've all seen from that transfer that Dortmund were the winners of that transfer, not Manchester United as well. So I like him. He makes sense as a player. For me, it's one of those situations, if you're buying him, you're committing to the Manu Kone plan. And I think that there are more intelligent options out there that you could pull off rather than just buying Manu Kone and saying, we're just going to commit to Endo, Kone, Stefan Bajcetic, defensive mids.
Yeah, no, good. Before I come to you, Jay, about that point, I just want to say thank you for the likes. Can we get 100 likes? Just as I said, it takes a couple of seconds. Just hit smash those buttons, help us out. It'd be really, really great for us. So, Jay, I guess pre-knee injury, I think we were probably all on the boat, on the Manu Kone boat. But what about after his injury? Is there a concern paying such a large amount, even if it is, reasonable? We're talking about £45 million, 50 million euros. Do you think that's still worth the risk for that type of player, or should we start thinking about other players now?
No, I done a video on Manu Kone at the beginning of last summer, saying that we should have been looking at him then. I love him. The thing about him is being a defensive mid, he can carry the ball. He can carry the ball very well. It's probably his biggest strength. Now, the midfield Klopp's trying to build at the minute looks like it's players that can play numerous positions. And for me, Kone isn't an out-and-out 6 as such because of how good he is at carrying the ball. So that sort of fits into the philosophy that he's trying to bring into the midfield now. The injury, I wouldn't worry about, mate. He's back in training already. If we were worried about that, we shouldn't have signed Nunes because he's in his ACL a few years ago. So, his injury is nowhere near to the impact of that. And as far as I know, mate, the price isn't that high for Kone. I think it's something like 35 million I've seen, maybe 40. So if you can get him for that, mate, he's a steal. He's still a young lad. Klopp could mould him into a monster. I'm very impressed by him, mate. I'd be all in for Kone myself.
And what about you? What do you think there, Harmony?
Yeah, Kone is I think Kone is someone that during this last season, the season before, I feel like we've been watching him for a while. I think I saw a report saying that they sent a scout down there that been keeping an eye on him for a long while. So clearly there is interest there. Clearly, Klopp does like the player, and George Schmeichel, he loves the Bundesliga, so he clearly knows the player better than we do. And if they're still identifying him, then clearly there must be something there about the kid. For me, yeah, it's kind of what like Jay say. He's a progressive. He's kind of like a 6, but he can literally drive with the ball forward. And I feel like he's the type of guy. If he can do that, fair enough. You can keep that part of his game. But I think if Klopp can mold him into just a destroyer, because that's all we need. We just need someone that just kills the fire, that spots the danger, that smells the pass that's about to open, literally split the defense. That's all we need. And if I feel like he has that, he has the that kind of ability to be that kind of player, but he just needs a manager that can teach him and mold him to be that kind of player. And I feel like Klopp could be someone that can do that for him. If we can get him in, it'll be great business for us, because he can play in that 6, or he can be one of those when he's just under Endo for a little while until he gets used to the league, used to the speed and everything, and then he can just literally take over from there. So for me, it will be a good option. It'll be a very good option to bring him in. But like I said, we don't need no more attacking player or someone that can take on players. No, we just need someone that can just literally just spot danger and destroy it. That's what we need, because we got a lot of creative players already. We got a lot of that's the problem we had last season. We didn't have enough creative players that can break the line, that can spot that pass, to split the defense open. We got players like that. We got players that can run at players and still spot that pass or take a good shot. We just need a destroyer. So if we can get him in and just tell him, listen, you don't have to do anything else. All you have to do is just take the ball off somebody and pass it on. Perfect. That would be perfect for me, because I feel like once we have someone like that in the team, we can challenge and we'll be so much more solid defensively as a unit.
Yeah. So you mentioned Florentino Luis there, but Jay, you've mentioned in the comments about Fofana being a good player. He's a player probably under the radar for many. So just to help out the streamers, people in the chat, any thoughts about Fofana? He plays for Monaco, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Young French defensive-minded midfielder. Any thoughts about him coming in? The price for that player as well?
I think Forest will put a bid in for 35 million, which I'm not sure if it's been accepted or not, to be honest, because I heard about that over a week ago.
There has been no news on it either way, if it's been accepted or not. It seems like I don't think he's going to Forest.
Yeah, to be honest, I think the player's more reluctant to go there anyway. I think it's one of them. He'd probably rather stay at Monaco, because no disrespect to Forest, but Monaco probably a bigger champion. I'm not even going to get into that, but right now it might be more attractive to play at Monaco than it would be Forest for some people. He's a traditional 6, mate, like a destroyer. He's a good player, and he went under the radar because who was it Monaco sold? I can't think of the player off the top of my head now, but he played with Fofana in the middle, and everyone raved about him.
Tchouaméni. It was Tchouaméni.
Everyone raved about Tchouaméni when really... Do you ever remember when Bakayoko went to Chelsea and everyone thought he was great, and it was really Fabinho that was the ones doing the work? It's kind of similar with Tchouaméni and Fofana. Tchouaméni was class, but Fofana did a lot of his dirty work that went unnoticed, and he went under the radar. He's a very, very, very good player. I'd rather sign Fofana for 35 than Doucoure for 70.
Absolutely.
If you were to give me the option, Fofana, I'd choose Fofana over Doucoure in my personal preference.
I would also choose Fofana over Manu Kone, and that's only because the fact that Youssouf Fofana hasn't really had a long-term injury. And I like Manu Kone. I rate him very highly. I think he'll be a great French player. But if you need someone that's going to come in that's not a project, that can rotate with Endo and essentially frees up Bajcetic and Thiago to be 8s, creating 8s or ball carrying 8s, like you said, Jay, it's Youssouf Fofana, and I think he's the smartest buy. The fact that he hasn't gone to Forest gives me hope that we're probably bidding for him, but I'm just grasping at straws with that at the moment.
Fofana's a more traditional DM than Kone as well. So that's what I mean about Kone. He can progress with the ball and carry the ball, where Fofana is literally just like a McAllister. I'd give you the ball, go on Mac, go on Sob, go on Trent, whoever else.
Yeah, the ultimate water carrier, and that's no disrespect to Claude McAllister, because that's really all we need. That's a
great role. Not anyone can just play that role. Special players play. You got to read the game. DM isn't like oh, because he doesn't score 40 yarders or play great
Yeah.
passes. That's a real specialist role, mate. It's about knowing tactically on the pitch. If anything, it's probably harder to play because you have to be ahead of the game.
Absolutely. And you're doing shuttle runs for 90 minutes. And if anybody here tries to do shuttle runs for 90 minutes and also read a game where you're trying to figure out where the next attack's going to go, and you have to be a pessimist and also an optimist and progress the ball, it's absolutely insane. I love Yusuf Fofana. I would steal him in a heartbeat. I don't even care about non-homegrown, which I talk about way too much, but I would go to Monaco today and just take him to Liverpool and say, listen, mate, come to Liverpool. Look, we got McAllister, we have Soboslai. You're not going to have these players at AS Monaco.
Yeah, I think it's interesting about that point, how specialist of a position it is. So the point I made on the weekend, and we saw it with Endo, was his ability. And the way that we play, if we are going to play with an inverted right back, essentially there's a massive, massive space for Konate to fill in that right back position. What that also means is Endo, or whoever we are playing at the number 6 need to kind of drop back into that centre back position to give that little bit more cover. So it's really, really interesting that we do see that. And I think we'll see that with Endo because of his versatility, because he has played a lot at centre back. So yeah, you probably see more as you go along, the knowledge, the experience that Endo provides us, while we perhaps we can start thinking about other players coming in. So I did drop in a couple of messages. Just want to say thank you for everyone so far that has been on the stream, has smashed those likes. Really, really great. I just wanted to kind of mention around there, we do stream every day, 7:30. If it's a game, then we'll try to be a little bit early, talking about some match reactions, live, watch-alongs and whatnot, post-match reactions. There's going to be so much content coming your way. Just all you got to do, smash those likes, give us a subscribe. It just really helps the channel grow, and that's what we're looking to try to do. And just this last point, join us on this journey. It's going to be really, really good. If we have a good season, we're just going to keep on giving you the content that you're looking for. Good, honest discussions, some fabulous kind of analysis on its way as well. So I just want to say thank you for everyone being here today. Okay, so we'll move on to the next topic, and it's another midfielder. So this is around Andre from Fluminense. So there's a bit of talk around the player. Earlier in the day, there was talks, again, Twitter talk or X talk, whatever you want to call it, where personal terms had been agreed. However, later on in the day, essentially, those terms had not been, they weren't accurate. So I guess it's kind of a bit interesting there, Dan, around the player itself. He's obviously focused on the competition that Fluminense are currently in. Is it right for us to try to poach him? The price as well that's been quoted. So Fluminense want 40 million. That's what we've heard is the buyout clause, and we know that we're buyout FC this summer. So is that something that we want to kind of pursue? Is it worth the money? 30 million euros.
So I've gone back and forth on Andre. So from the Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese itself, what it says is that the fact that Andre would only accept terms with Liverpool if they agree a fee with Fluminense first. So that's really interesting because it tells me that there could be a situation where Liverpool actively negotiating with Fluminense to see if they could get it done. For me, it's one of those things where Andre's just always felt and sounded like a January signing because it just makes the most sense, especially with the Copa Libertadores going on right now, and he has a lot of games ahead of him. And honestly, you don't really want a player who's willing to just leave his team in the middle of a really important competition. Not trying to throw shade on Moises Caicedo, but you want someone who's going to come in and be very committed as well. I think the thing with price, the release clause, it just makes sense to buy it in January because you can just buy someone else right now. This is not a situation where if we don't sign him now, we'll never be able to sign him again. This just screams a January signing. Just wait till January to get him. There are other midfielders on the market. There are other defenders on the market we need to do. Andre's not going to go anywhere. The Brazilian, I believe the Brazilian transfer doesn't even open until October. So you could even negotiate the release clause with Fluminense from October to December to January. So it's not a transfer that requires a lot of urgency from Liverpool or even Fluminense at the moment. So just sign him in January. Negotiate with Fluminense the release clause and the installment payments and blah blah blah, et cetera, negotiate with his agency. Sign him in January, bring him in, deregister Adrian, and just put him on the bench. Give him his like $50,000, £50,000 a week. Be happy to be on the bench and not with the AXA Training Center because he's not going to play any Premier League games, and just register him with whoever else we buy. Be that Youssouf Fofana, Florentino Luis, which I don't think is happening this summer, but that's just my opinion, or Piero Hincapié, and like whoever you have, just say like you're coming in January. That's our plan. And again, it just makes the most sense for all parties. And I understand Jamie just said about hijacking. I can understand that, but there's no other club right now that we know of that's negotiating for Andre. Mm-hmm. Every other club is looking at somebody else, and I don't think if Andre wants to leave, so hypothetically Chelsea come in for 40 million euros, give it to Fluminense, and he signs for Chelsea. If he's going to sign for Chelsea with all the midfielders he have, with the problems they have, and just leave his team in during the Copa Libertadores, I don't want him. That's not a player that we need. Like if you're willing to get an 8 or 9 year contract at Chelsea or United and not play games, it's just not worth it.
Yeah, Monkey Chops, you make a couple of good points about the release clause. I mean, Harmony, what do you think? Do you think it's just a case of we just pay it? We should just go ahead and pay it for a player that essentially could be 100 million next year. We've seen there's enough precedence. Enzo Fernandez going, he was bought for 10 million and then suddenly he's a 100 million pound player. Same with Caicedo. Do you think we should skip that middleman, Benfica, the Portuguese market, or Brighton, and just pay the release clause for that type of player?
Yeah, I understand what Dan is saying when it comes to we're not really in a hurry to get him. Because I think if we wait until January, we would have to pay 20.
Yeah, about half off, pretty much.
Yeah, about half of it. So I can understand why Liverpool want to hold off until then. But when it comes to the player, I have not really watched him as much. I've seen clips here and there. He looks solid. He looks like he's going to be a replacement for Thiago when he leaves. So I can see why the attraction is there. But if we're going to do that and just wait until January, then but we need to get another body in and just cement that position, because like Jay said before, I don't know what happened to Jay, but Jay, if you can hear us, please come back. I think we need to get another person, because if Endo does get injured, then we have a serious problem, and the club must have that in their mind to be like, we need to add another body in there just in case. I'm not saying he's going to get injured. I'm not saying that we want him to get injured. We want him to stay fit and healthy, but just in case he does, we have at least somebody else in there that can, do the role until Andre comes in or somebody else comes in January. So for me, yes, the DM position is really important, but if you can get somebody else for that 40 mil and then get Andre for 20 mil in January, then I'll say just wait and get somebody else in that position. Gravenberch, he's not somebody that I would want. I would say in that position. He's more of an 8. He's not really that defensively minded. So yeah, for me, I just feel like I said earlier, this window is important. These next 10 days are really important for Liverpool in terms of what direction we go and what how the season is going to go for us, depending on the players that we bring in these next 10 days, or what player they're looking at. Because I've been on Twitter over these last couple of days, somewhere that I didn't want to be last week because of the whole Caicedo situation. I'm not really seeing a lot of players that are being linked with. I'm not really seeing too much personally, so that kind of has me a little bit worried. But hopefully, the team in the background, because we know how the club is, love working secretly and quietly behind the scenes there. So hopefully we have somebody in mind that we're going to bring in.
So I think.
I have some breaking news at the moment. So according to ESPN FC, Liverpool had a bid of 30 million euros bid rejected for Andre by Fluminense, and the feeling is the club will not return for the player in January. This was just tweeted out, I think, about 10 minutes ago. It was just a source quote from ESPN Brazil. So I don't know how official that is. That's just some little breaking news here from ESPN Brazil. I'll go see if I can find some more information. I'm sorry.
Yeah, do
Yeah,
no. We can have a see what's going on there. So yeah, it's interesting. Okay, so yesterday James Pearce came out and said that we're not looking for anyone in particular. There may be options for versatility. Andre is that type of player. To have a bid rejected for 30 million. Who knows what that is? Again, it probably could be like a Lavia situation. We don't rate him higher than what we've just paid for. I think also since the Caicedo situation where we've had our fingers, toes, everything burnt in that situation and looked a little bit foolish, then we are probably keeping our cards close to our chest in terms of who we're trying to buy. It's not going to be anyone that we probably know of, not until we see something, just like an Endo situation. Endo was announced on one evening, and then he essentially was signed the very next day or 2 days after. So it probably would be something really, really similar, where if we are going to go for someone, it is just going to come out the blue. We're not going to see it. We're not going to expect it. And who knows what that could be.
Yeah. Honestly,
So
I just hope we bring somebody. That's the main thing.
Yeah,
I really don't. I just want someone to come in. Yeah, at least two.
But it's the hope that kills your harmony, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. Honestly, even that whole Caicedo situation, I stayed up until 4 a.m. just reading everything.
Yeah.
And a part of me just said we're not going to get him. I don't know why. I just said it. I said a part of me just said it in my heart that we're not going to get the guy. It's too good to be true, and it turned out to be the case. So, I'm just praying that the club brings at least 2 players in before the summer window, the window closes, because we do need those players in those positions that I brought up earlier.
Yeah. So I'm trying to find specifically where it said. Here we go. This was written by Raul Moura today at 15:29 p.m. So that's around. I let the be what 2:29. So it was today. So he says Fluminense standout Andre was offered to transfer to Liverpool. However, the Rio club refused the proposal of 30 million euros or 162 million reais, which is the Brazilian currency for the midfielder. The information was initially released by Gay, so GE confirmed by ESPN. Even with the high value, the tricolor remains adamant about keeping Andre until the end of the season. In the quarterfinals of the Copa Libertadores, where he plays against Olympia at the Macarana. I'm sorry for my Brazilian Portuguese pronunciation. I've been working on it. To Liverpool, the Fluminense board has made it clear that even if there is an increase in supply, it will not release the jewel before the end of the season. So essentially, like even if they increase the money, they're not going to sell them before their season ends. And it goes to this as well. With the refusal of the Rio club, the team coached by Jurgen Klopp will go in search of a new name to hire. The trend, according to ESPN, is the English do not return in the January transfer window in the search of Andre. So what they're saying is that Liverpool bid 30 million euros. It was rejected, as reported by Gay. So this is ESPN reporting what they've been told by Gay, and that even if they increase the fee, that Fluminense will not sell them before the season's over. So essentially before the Copa Libertadores is over, and that the according to ESPN that they will not be back in for January. Which, if true, tells us 2 things. 1, they're probably going to sign somebody else, and 2, that they're not going to come back in for January, meaning that they're probably going to move on to other targets as well. So that's the report as of today from ESPN Brazil, as reported by Raul Moura. Moura. So you guys can go look that up on ESPN in Brazil's website if you know how to speak a little bit of Brazilian Portuguese. It's really fun to know as well. So just some breaking news here on LFC Transfer Room.
There you go. You get it straight from the source. That's brilliant. I guess it's interesting. We'll see if it's actually true. I'm sure there'll be more information coming out in due course. If that did come out earlier in the day, no one else has reported anything. So at this point in time, it is just one reporter. So we'll see if there's any more information from British-based journalist David Ornstein's been quite good this summer. So we'll see if there's any more information. So what we'll do.
It And I was gonna say, and they're quoting a local source itself, so it's
Yeah.
kind of their version of the Echo. So I would take it with a grain of salt right now. They're just kind of it's ESPN itself is an aggregate of other news sites, so it's not coming straight from the sources as well. That's just what they're saying at the moment. And the fact that it even says that if Liverpool increased the bid, they still wouldn't sell him seems a little bit of suspect, because what we've heard from our side is that if they pay 40 million euros, he would come as well. We'll just have to see when Fluminense is out of the Copa Libertadores. And someone said earlier, their last game in the Copa Libertadores is August 31st, so it's literally transfer deadline day. So he's not coming this window regardless. And even if they did bid 30 million, they were told no. He wasn't. I didn't think he was going to come this window. He's not coming this window, it looks like. So we'll just have to wait and see for other news on that end.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's understandable the reaction that we're getting in the comments. You know, bit tongue in cheek with some of them. I totally understand. We'll see. You know, there's still a bit of time. If it's not Andre, I'm sure if that bid is true, then Liverpool are still active. I'm trying to put a positive spin on it, but you know, they're still looking for players. They believe that this player was worth 30 million. You know, we may still return back to Europe and see if there's any additional players, other players that we could look at. But one thing I just want to finish on for today, and it is some good news, is the Alexis McAllister, the red card that he received on the weekend that was wrongfully given him in probably everyone's eyes, apart from Mike Dean and the referees for the day.
And Maddie thought it was a soft red. So I was gonna say, why are we defending the refs here, Maddie? Who are you supporting in this match?
Yeah. Well, we need to have a word with Matty now, don't we? Relegate him to a lower tier, but we'll have that conversation in the group. So, Harmony, I'll come to you first. I mean, how important is it? Well, let's go back. What are your thoughts? Because we haven't spoken about the red card. What were your thoughts about that red card itself?
As soon as I saw it, I just thought it was a yellow card. As soon as I saw the whole thing, I just thought, yeah, yellow card. Before they even showed the replay, I was like, okay, he's gonna get yellow. And then when I saw red, I had my mouth open for a good 30 seconds. I was like, what is going on? You know, it kind of just brought back the saying that Klopp was, you know, saying that these referees that have something against us, it got to be. And I just, you know, that just flashed through my head in that moment. I was like,
and who was VAR for that day as well? Our good friend,
Manchester's finest, Paul Tierney.
Paul Tierney, everyone's best buddy, Paul Tierney, was on VAR, agreed with the decision, and didn't overturn it on the day. Luckily, Dan, it didn't cost us any points. We did get the win. But your thoughts just on that red card, kind of instant reaction from it, and then we'll talk about obviously the process on how we've got him to rescind it.
Yeah, I mean, so I was exactly with Harmony. At first, I thought like, oh, that's a yellow card, and then he flashed red. I'm like, was it studs on? Did he hit his heel? And then showed the replay, and I'm like, this is going to review. Like every time there's a red card flashed, it always goes to the VR monitor, and this looks like dubious at best. It looks just like a yellow. Like this is going to go to VAR, and then it doesn't go, and then it's a confirmed, and I'm like, what just happened? What I love though about this whole thing is that the players were so pissed off they decided to play like they still had 11 or 12 men on the pitch and just try to go score a third goal. And they probably could have scored a fourth or fifth because, you know, Big Dom Soboslai was like, I'm not putting up with this. I'm not putting up with this bullshit. I'm just going to go in and just dribble past everyone and try to score like a hat trick on my own. It's one of those things where in the end, common sense prevailed, justice prevailed, but it just comes back to me for the issue of like, what is the point of VAR if you don't have the ref go and look at the screen? Because pretty much what the FA has said here, yeah, the ref got it wrong. Then what, like, that's what the point of VAR is. It's like, don't make me look like, you know, an idiot. Don't make me look like a knobhead, like during this process. Like if I'm a ref and I see that and I flash red, I'm flashing red with the idea VAR is going to check to make sure I didn't get this wrong. Because that's what it's there for. It's to help the ref be like, did I make the right decision? You know, give me a second look. No ref's going to be like, no, I'm never going to see a second look. You know, I was right the whole time. You know, no ref's going to, especially a new ref who's refereeing at Anfield, which is a very hostile atmosphere, to put it mildly, but like a very intense atmosphere. So you have to keep your head. you make a decision with the idea if we have VAR, I can go back and check this. I understand from the rest perspective, like, oh, I saw foot high into the shin. I'm thinking red. I understand that because he has VAR. If VAR doesn't check it, then why do we have it? Like, what's the point? Especially if they're going to go to appeal and be overturned. Like, it's just there's no point to it at that point. It should just be we should just turn VAR into semi-automatic offsides at this point, or have it be like goal line technology, which is just an automatic decision, or like goalkeepers like with their foot on the line, something that is as arbitrary and as strict as like a line for offsides or goalkeepers as well. Because at this point, you're just adding subjectivity, where the referee has his subjective view, and then you obviously have Constantine elbowing Robbo in the VAR booth with Mr. Paltieri himself, who have their own biases and point of views as well. I know we joke about this. I'm not trying to blame them and say like that they have this agenda, because every club thinks the referees have an agenda against them. It's just, for me, it's like, what's the point of trying to remove subjectivity if you're not going to give the ref and the opportunity to correct himself? I'm happy it was rescinded and downgraded and rescinded. I was hoping for a one match. The fact we got it all just tells me the fact that they admitted that the ref made a mistake. And that's the worst thing you can do as a referee, because it's like, what's the point of me having a VAR if the board is going to go and say, yeah, no, you messed up. Like, this is your fault. This is your VAR's fault. Like, the senior referees are the one letting this guy on the field stick with this call and not have a chance to correct himself. So I'm more mad at the fact that what's the point of them having this process if they're not going to use it? Because, in this instance, that's their job, and they're not doing their job. They're just like, yep, whatever decision he makes is fine.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be a referee. I wouldn't be a referee in that instance if I feel like I'm going to be left up to dry and not a chance to correct my mistake.
Yeah, I think what we probably want is that transparency. But I mean, more importantly, if you got final, fantasy Premier League and you put McAllister in, will he get you points back? That's going to be the crucial one. Especially, I know the LSE transfer room, FPL is hotting up already, even into the second game of the season. But Harmony, kind of like, now that we've had it fully rescinded, so he's not going to be missing any games. It opens up obviously for the weekend. We'll close up with this with your comments there about how poor refereeing is in this league. I think what we're seeing is Mike Dean kind of is protecting the refs on the Saturday, agreeing with the on-field referees, and he's already got, he's hearing the VAR commentary as well. How important is it that we try to take on a leaf from other sports, from other leagues as well, and try to be more transparent about the refereeing decisions and how they come to that final decision?
Everything it's just, it makes a lot of sense everything you said, because I've been thinking about it a lot, thinking, when these referees make mistakes, what punishment do they get? Like, what is it? What's the
if it's really bad, then they miss a week, don't they? But
which is what they
it doesn't really change anything. You know what I mean? You're going to miss a week and you're going to come back again, and then nothing changes. What's the punishment for making these stupid mistakes and making the league look bad and making your organization look bad? What is a punishment for that? You're seeing it in other sports. When you even in basketball and NFL, when the referees makes a decision, they explain themselves why they came up with that decision. If we can have that in the Premier League, where I don't get why we don't have it, but I feel like something that should be implemented, where a referee can say, the reason why I gave this decision with the help of VAR is this and this and this and this, then at least fans can be more understanding, and the managers and the players can understand, now we get why he came to this decision. But because it's so secretive, it's almost like they're trying to hide something from everybody. Everyone is like, what is going on? Why are you not making these stupid mistakes? And this is not the first time. It's not the second time they've done it. This is like the third or fourth season that they keep making these silly mistakes every single time. And it's getting to the point where you have referees that are retired having to explain decisions that people have made on the pitch, when the guy on the pitch can literally speak for himself. So if we can just implement those type of things there, it makes it easier. Another sport that does it, tennis. Even tennis, like the umpire sits there and he looks and he says, the reason why we gave this decision is because of this and this and this and that. The
Yeah.
players might not like it, but at least they have an explanation of why they came up with that decision. So I feel like that is something that should be implemented in the Premier League and would make it a bit easier, more make it everybody's job much more easier instead of them having to go through this whole debate. Is this the right decision? Is it the wrong decision? We have a be like, okay, cool. He made the decision because of this. Is it right? Yes or no? And we just move on from there. And the whole VAR system as well and the rules behind it. It's so simple. Is the guy offside? Yes or no? Yes. Move on. Is that a red card? Yes or no? Yes. Move on. Is that a penalty? Yes or no? No. Okay, move on. That's all it should be. There should not be a gray area or a fine line between it could be a penalty. No. Is there a penalty? Is there a handball? Yes or no? Yes or no. It should be just end. That should be the end of the conversation. Yes or no?
I think it's just the inconsistencies, isn't it? So the McAllister on the first day of the season against Chelsea got booked for doing that kind of dissent, calling for a card. Yet yesterday there was a couple of Arsenal players calling for Eze to be booked for dissent. So, but they didn't get booked. I think that's the issue that we're seeing constantly. A problem with. We should have had a handball against Chelsea. Didn't get given. Yet I think was it Brighton? I think it was Brighton with the player. Hit like the back of his arm when he was trying to defend him, was given as a penalty. I think that's just the issue that we have with the referees. But I think what we're going to do, we're going to close it off for tonight. It's been a brilliant show. Just want to say thank you for everyone on the comments. Hopefully we kind of answered as many questions as we can. We've got a really packed agenda as always. Liverpool news is hot at the moment. It never ends. There's some good news, there's some bad news. Whatever it is, we will discuss it. Before we close off, hit those likes, hit the subscribes, do whatever you can. Come back to us tomorrow 7:30. I just want to say thank you for Dan, thank you for Harmony, and Jay, wherever you are, my friend, thank you for joining us today. Have a good evening, good morning, good day, wherever you are. And we'll see you soon. Thank you again.